But yeah, for a 13-year-old BMW, it's been daily driven, 115, almost 116,000 miles. This thing drives like a champion. Clutch catches, pulls real good. Steering is like really on point. It's extremely tight. I'd say this is more of a track driving experience, something that just inspires you to, take canyons and S-turns at a, double the speed limit per se. It just grips the road like no other. It's like glued to the road. But I mean, if you really want to get it sideways, it's pretty easy to get it sideways if you're about that life. I don't know what else. So I guess if you're thinking about buying a 330, look for one with the ZHP package. That's the only reason I would ever consider buying a 330. You get way more bang for your buck than a standard 330. Even the 330 with a sports M performance package. This is the closest thing you can get to a real M performance package, the ZHP, not the sports package. The sports package is not nearly as extensive as the ZHP package. And being, at 100 roughly 1,000 miles, 120, 150, 90,000 miles, anywhere in that range if you're going to buy one, just assume to put minimum $3,000 into it out the gate. And I don't say that as like it's a necessity for all the cars, but more than likely it's going to have an issue very soon around that mileage, the 120,000 mile range, whether it be leak or intake, boot issue, intake manifold I've heard can leak. Come on, what are you doing, Mercedes? Fucking 4MATICs out here. Moms and their 4MATICs. Alright. But, yeah, for the price of the car, you can find one of these 330s for 8 to 10 grand in like really pristine condition. This one I think is like damn near new. All the leather, like very minimal damage to leather, almost no cracking. Steering wheel's like new. Everything functions. All the windows work. AC works. Heat works. Heat seaters work. This car is like a new car still. And I mean, I got it for $9,500. That's how much this car was priced for at a dealership. And since I've owned it though, here's the thing. Put probably somewhere in the $5,000 to $7,000 range just into the engine. And then, that's also brakes and tires. That's everything actually. So I mean, not just the engine. Brakes, tires. I've done a lot of work, replaced the CCV, replaced all the gaskets. That's all a lot of oil changes in there too. I'm pretty strict about 3,000. Every 3,000 miles you need to do an oil change, especially if you like to really drive your cars. And for that price, it sounds high, but you only need to do that once every 100,000 to 120, 150,000 miles or so. And this car's 13 years old and only at 115, 116,000. So it tells you that happens once every blue moon. And if you replace all those things every 100, roughly 1,000 miles, this car will run for damn near ever. I've heard of these cars going 4, 5, 600,000 miles. And that's the goal. This is one day I believe will truly turn into a classic, and it's something truly special to own. One of these naturally aspirated inline six speeds, manual clutch, like real driving experience for a BMW. You don't find that very much anymore in cars. And I think you can really make these last. And I think the harsh kind of look on these cars is they won't last. But if you can find one with a manual transmission, I can almost guarantee you, if you take care of it and replace the things I mentioned, you'll get 400,000 miles out of it. I mean, you'll have to replace the clutch, maybe do some work on the transmission here and there. The inline 6 just sounds great. It'll last you forever as long as you do those things every 100,000 miles. Be anal about your oil. Only use BMW synthetic. And even though they say you can do it every 15,000 miles, that's just fucking retarded. You gotta do it every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. I'm strict 3,000 miles. So I like to redline it. I mean, I even sometimes find myself adding a quart in between the 3,000 mile interval. Just because I run it so hot and it just eats through it. There's no leak or anything, but I just find myself having to add a little bit here and there. Yeah, these cars are truly special. I mean, the ZHP package in particular, they don't make them like this anymore. I mean, if you can get in one of these, jump on it. That's all I gotta say. The maintenance is just highly recommended for longevity if you want to make the car last and run like new. But I mean, you don't have to do that. The car will still run. It'll run great. You can wait until something fails, then replace it, but that's kind of the sketchy route, if you ask me. One thing failing leads to another thing failing. But also the great phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? As soon as you start fixing things, shit can break too. So it's weird, you know. I started getting in there and fixing shit. I've had the shop do a lot of the work, actually, and they're really, really good on European vehicles. I see a lot of high-performance vehicles in that shop, and after I started replacing shit, and I did the muffler delete, I think it's because of the muffler delete, I got that service engine light. Like they said, the car still drives like new, and it has no issues. I get it scanned almost once a month for free just to be safe, you know, at the shop that I go to. They have the full scanner set up, so they'll hook me up whenever. And you know, there's no error code, just one error code that's a post-catalytic oxygen sensor, and we went in and looked at that on the scanner, and it said it was operating fine. So I mean, it's there, it's working. I think it's just a fluke because of the muffler delete, and I didn't weld any pipe on. I think it's just kind of not used to running like that, and maybe it'll adjust in the next like 100 miles or so, and that'll shut off. I'm gonna get some pipe welded on here soon, and maybe that'll fix the issue. I don't know. I just wanted to make a video and make up for that shitty video with the wind and talk about a little bit what I've had to do in a year of ownership. I think I've owned it for about a year, and I did no Carfax, no research. I was just like fiending for a manual BMW, and I was looking every single day on Craigslist for my best options. I was looking at a lot of the 335i's, and that's just a bit too much for me. I don't want to work on the turbos and all that shit, so that didn't happen. Maybe one day, but I figured just natural aspiration, ZHP was a good place to start. And you know, if you can find one with 100,000 miles on it, just jump on it. Don't even, just do it, man. If it's a manual, don't even hesitate. That's all I gotta say. That's what I did. You know, I spent a lot of money on it, but it's money I didn't have to spend, and I do not regret it. I think that if you have the opportunity to get yourself into ZHP and you've been thinking about it, 100% do it. I traded my other car for this. The car only had 50,000 miles on it. It's a Scion TC though, TC2 or whatever. I'm not very into that. Didn't like how it handled. It smelled weird. So as soon as this thing popped up, I just went into the dealership and was like, you know, you guys want to do a trade? We made a deal, and I think that was the best decision I've ever made in my entire life. So don't sleep on it. Just do it.